Hello there, Josh here. A quick look at the 750 at Worcester. I've had a flick through today's cards, and yes, the Martin Keithley trained Shinji, or however you wish to pronounce it, at 9 to 2, 5 to 1, I thought was a decent price actually in this race, and I thought I would quickly explain why. I'm in the excellent Gigi's Gold. If I start with the Instant Expert tab, just to get an idea on the runners and riders in race conditions. I'm on handicap hurdles, winning form at the moment. All the race conditions across there. You can see that the selection ticks quite a few boxes. It is his first run at Worcester, but I'll touch on that in a second. I think it will suit. But the ground is fine, class is fine, distance is fine. Looking through, there's a few winners at this class, and a few recently. A few have questions. There's lots of kind of unknowns and red over 2 miles. In fact, in handicap hurdles, there's only three winners over the trip. So whether some of these have the pace for conditions, we shall see. And there's only three that have form in kind of decent field sizes. Now, some are unknowns. Some haven't run in conditions and may well improve for it, of course. But yeah, having a horse obviously it ticks a few boxes is useful, notwithstanding that some may be open to improvement, like I said, and unexposed. But I think the selection still is in that category. Also, I can look at just all kind of all hurdles, I should say, within race conditions. And again, you can see there's lots of red there for the distance and the class for a few. That's the win stats. If I put the place stats on, it improves for some of them, a fair bit of orange and green, as you can see there. Some would say that's maybe a bit too competitive and you should leave alone, but I think a lot of got placed efforts, but not much winning form in conditions. In any case, I like Shinji. So yeah, that was a kind of a weigh in, and a quick look at that. It's only ever a guide before you can take a deeper dive if you wish. The pace tab, always like to get a feel on the pace, both what the positives are in terms of race position for the race conditions, number of runners, the ground, the race type at the track. Around here, it's pretty fair actually. You can kind of make all race promptly be held up, which generally suggests it's all about the pace of the race and more about the jockeyship. There are no kind of express kind of blast out prominent make all runners in here, habitual make all runners. After Party was prominent when winning here last time, but did sit off the lead as his jockey tried to settle him. Sean Bowen made all on Shinji pretty much 2 starts ago with quite an aggressive ride. I think he'll probably try and do the same again and dictate, but in any case, he should certainly be in the first three and in the right place to pounce and to dictate the fractions and to kick. And I think that is a reason for why he may have the upper hand on some of these ridden a bit further back. We shall see if that transpires. But I think Sean, if he's aggressive enough early, may well get to do his own thing, drop anchor down the back, get a breather in, and then wind it up, turning for home. The horse and the trainer, the other thing, I want to say, trainer form I always like to look at. These green little 14s and 30s always a useful way in, and these report angles here for some kind of underlying stats and pointers to support the case for the horse. If I just click on these, well, Sean is Martin Keithley's go-to jockey pretty much. Doesn't get to use him as much, certainly in the winter now because of the Ollie Murphy connection with Sean. But in the summer, and certainly in recent years, he's tried to use him plenty. And you can see here their record at Worcester in the last 5 years. All rides, 5 from 17, 7 places, plus 10 SP, which is very solid indeed. I always like or to get a feel or a grip on trainer form and whether you think they're going okay. And there's various different pointers you can look at for that. But trainer jockey certainly in the last 30 days and 14 days. Sean is 2 from 7, 3 places on Martin Keithley's horses, so they seem to be going well. You can see there, yeah, both of his winners in that case, Sean will have ridden in the last month. I did note a few weeks ago, actually, when flicking through some jumps cards, that the Keithley string appeared to be out of form or out of sorts. They hadn't had a winner for ages. It looks like they may be slowly cranking into gear. Another angle you can look at for trainer form is percentage of rivals beaten, and as with any stats in the last 14-30 days, comparing to the last year or longer if you wish, can be useful, but comparing to the last kind of 3-6-5 days stats, just to see how they're going, if they're going better than that yearly average, I always think is a positive. And certainly percentage of rivals beaten in this time is up on the yearly average as well. So yes, that one on that regard ticks a lot of boxes. The kind of instant expert ticking boxes in terms of the ground class, distance, field size, in a race where plenty of these have got to prove winning form over a sharper 2 miles. The pace map is in my favour. I think I like horses that can race prominently, especially in races which on paper there may not seem to be loads of pace, and if the horse has done similar before, I think Sean's going to be up there and out of the way. He's obviously riding very well and with confidence. He also rides Worcester very well generally, as you can see here. To the horse, which is always an important part of the puzzle. It's always useful, I think, and certainly generally speaking, and obviously not all of the time, but I would argue that the majority of the horses you back to win, you think they have upside potential, you think there may be more to come, and they may not have yet shown their best. Summer jumping in particular, actually, you might get a few more kind of older horses bouncing back to form, but certainly that's what I prefer in terms of a mix of betting opportunities, is to generally focus on those where you think there is more to come. But of course there are races and scenarios where there are horses that have dropped back down the handicap and now have prime conditions and so on, but that's a different discussion. But in any case, this horse here has certainly got more to come. This is only 11th race of his life. He's 2 from 10, 5 places. He obviously knows how to win, and he can be consistent. If I just click on the handicaps here, he's 1 from 4, 2 places in handicap hurdles. Evidently, you'd like to think at some stage he may be adding to that. He was quite highly tried in National Hunt flat races. I always like that as some indication of what the horses may be. Chucked into a listed when he came third, actually. At Newbury, and then they threw him in a Group 2 at the Grand National meeting last year, which was probably a bit too deep. But yeah, he won over a National Hunt flat for Roger Varian, actually. He was then handicapped, or it looked like, well, he was there to run his race. That was his first start. Fakenham didn't run too well, and a bit more as expected. I'm not sure soft or heavy ground suited necessarily, although Utoxer off a mark of 100, he was going okay, reading those comments there, and he ran out 3 out. He's evidently, I wouldn't say tricky. The cheek pieces seem to have really helped him and transformed him. He was sent off at Kempton here. He weakened. He ran there as if he needed the run. Sean then jumped on. Yeah, he travelled well there, but he's weakening and awkward 2 out. Sean then jumped on at Southall, another left-handed fixed brush hurdles, which Worcester is, a bit more galloping, which may well suit him compared to Southall. But he went off, looked like at a fairly strong pace there. 3 of them pulled clear. He certainly didn't seem to get an easy time. Sean then kind of slowed it down, heading for home a bit, let them come back to him, got a breather and kicked again. And he did it fairly impressively and comfortably come the line. I'll touch on that a bit in a second. He then went to Newbury just 14 days later. Maybe it came a bit too soon. He was lit up. He was under Martin's son, Freddie, who will hopefully make up into a decent jockey, but he's very inexperienced under rules. This was at his time, I think, only maybe his 7th ride. He hasn't ridden a winner yet, but I should think that won't be long. He was keen there, having watched it. He was 3-4 wide for a time. He then tucked in behind a couple. They looked like they went too hard, and in the end, a closer and a more patiently ridden horse has picked them up. However, he did keep his head down. He did stay on around that much sharper track, and he did put a bit of a gap between him and the rest of the pack, which I always like. I think he's still a well handicapped horse and he's still in form. I like a bit of hot form, kind of this then what feature here. What horse are they beating? How have the races worked out? And I suppose that was the final piece of the jigsaw, other than the fact that Sean, a more experienced, obviously top jockey, arguably top 2, top 3 jumps, UK jumps jockey, is back on, replacing the inexperienced Freddie. But Shinji on this occasion, the front 2 clearer at Southall beat Dog Fox of Ollie Greenhall and Josh Guerrero, who was patiently ridden to kind of settle and couldn't quite get there, but he's bumped into a well handicapped horse as well. But on his next start up to a class 4 novice handicap, Shinji beat him here off 99, but he's bolted up himself off 99 next time out, a banger to give some substance to the form. So I suppose that was the final tick in the box. So I just thought if he returns those Southall levels and he's entitled to improve on them again, he's going to set a fair standard here for all those reasons. He's obviously improved for the cheek pieces. Yard continued to go well. He's had a bit more of a gap as well, 23 days. Maybe that race at Newton Abbot came a bit too soon. And yeah, he's going to be in the right place. He's generally a good jumper. Fixed brush hurdles, no problem. 2 mile, no problem. I think he'll actually maybe appreciate this track and this 2 mile. He can sit prominent, he can wind it up, and he can just keep galloping, and he will set a fair standard for these to match. After Part D is in form, I prefer the strength of the selections form to my eyes. I'm not really sure what he beat last time out. You're looking at Chinks, I suppose. Gillard, I mean, he doesn't have many winners, of course, but in the last couple of years, he's yet to get a last time out winner to follow up 0 from 8 3 places. He will do at some point, of course. They're fairly small numbers, but that's still some sort of question, I think. I think Shinji's just a better horse, and with a bit more about them because of that Dog Fox form. And the similar comments apply to Greatness Away. It's a bit more exposed in hurdles. This race has produced a subsequent winner, but again, I prefer the form of selection. And the race positioning is a reason to take him on as well. I think he'll be in the right place to pounce, and he's going to make some of these go and chase him, and they might not get to him. That was another reason. Paulings are going okay, but maybe a bit of a question in the last 30 days there as well. And that was it for those. The other ones, the Green or Guerrero, I wondered if he's patiently ridden. His form's been over a stiff 17 furlongs and 19 furlongs. I did wonder if he's got the pace. Again, I think Shinji's got a bit more about him, probably a bit more class for this level, and he's also unexposed still. He's up to 84. Yeah, I just wondered over this 2 mile in a race that might not be frantically run, whether or not he'll be in the right place. Nothing else I really liked in this, if I'm honest. Very much about the Keithy horse at 9-2. I will just touch on some other stats you may wish to note, which may be useful. More generally, Mulholland does well at the course there in the last year, does well at Worcester, so his runners generally all here are worth a second glance, and has done well with Sam here in the last year. This one makes handicap debut. Mulholland isn't prolific with those. I suppose that was one of the reasons for opposing 3 from 54, 13 places. The hood goes on, has been a bit keen, needs to learn to settle. The level of the form, it's hard to get a grip on this one just yet, but maybe one for a bit further down the line. Midnight Jewel, the Charlie Longton horse, is a bit so-so. This one's first start in 387 days. Skeltons are going okay, but again a bit in and out at times. But in any case, this one has a few questions after recent efforts, and was well behind the selection at Newton Abbot last time out. Hopefully they don't overturn that. I couldn't see why. I will just touch on the Killaney McPherson horse. I think Killahane, or however I pronounce his name, does most of the hands-on training within this operation. The market will be interesting in this race. Was about 22s. There's hardly anything to go on. He's probably been a slow maturer. He's had a break, 190 days off. That may transform. He might be a bigger, stronger horse. The market may guide, but he's one to keep an eye on, hopefully for a few starts time. But the trainer combo are doing very well since they McPherson was on the license with Fergal O'Brien, but since he left and gone back under his kind of own name, and now with Killahena as well, they are doing pretty well. 18% strike rate, all runners in the last year, and as you can see there, in fine form in the last 30 days, 14 days. So that is worth something to keep in mind as well, generally for this trainer combination. So do keep an eye on their runners in the coming days, because they are going very, very well. Of some interest, they are 4 from 5 when Richie McClernand is on, which did catch the eye. Having taken a closer look, they were all for the same horse a bit earlier in the year, but that's interesting nonetheless as well. So he's a possible lurker, and it'll be interesting to see what the market does and how he goes through this race. But yeah, there's some stats there for the trainers to keep on side, and maybe Richie will start banging home a few more winners for this team as well. But yeah, I've been going on long enough, but yes, on this occasion, Shinji, as I dive madly into a summer Class 5 handicap hurdle. Hopefully he can keep up his consistency and sets a decent level for these to match. I think he'll be leading before 2 out, and hopefully he can kick on and stay there under Sean. But with that said, hopefully you found this interesting enough. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time, best of luck with all your wagers, and speak soon.